Hello and welcome. I'm having fun with Facebook Live, and I asked two of my daughters to join me and let's have a conversation about what is life like in this pandemic. We have my daughter, Millicent Griesmer from Christiansburg, Virginia, which is near Blacksburg and Virginia Tech. And Melanie is in New York City, and I am in Florida. So I want to welcome you to this fun Facebook Live where we're just going to talk about different things going on. I mean, there's so much to learn from this. There's so much adjustment to be made. And it's just really crazy about how we have to adapt and whatnot. So as the host, I can see the comments and I will pass the comments on to Millie and Melanie, any questions you might have. But I think it'd be really neat to get a perspective from Melanie in New York City. What's going on? What's it like up there? And Millie in Virginia. And as I thought about the three of us, Melanie, you're in the city. You're in the heart of the city. And Millie, you're pretty rural. And me, I'm kind of in between. There is population here, but there's nowhere near that we have to wait in line to get into a store, or it's not like overly crowded. So I think we have three different places, different representations. So I don't know. What should we start with? I guess.
I guess I can talk about New York because I've been getting recently an outpouring of like family members, friends contacting me saying, because I think the news is making New York sound so bad right now. And it is bad. There are so many people in New York. And that's why, because it's such a high population and it's a small area, considering like land, people to land wise, if that makes sense.
Per square mile, percentage of population. Yeah.
But a lot of people are like really concerned about me being in New York. Like, Melanie, are you okay? Are you safe? It's so crazy there. There's so much going on. And in a way, I'm like, I feel safe. I'm staying at home as much as I can. There's people outside, and I went grocery shopping today, and they have the grocery store so that they're only letting in a certain amount of people. I don't know where to look. Should I look here? I'm only looking at it.
We can look at each other. We can look at each other. Yeah.
So yeah, they're really regulating everything. People are supposed to wear a mask when they go outside, and I wear gloves and a mask anytime I leave the house now, just to be safe. And like, because when I'm touching the doorknob, because when you think about it, if you live in an apartment building with so many other people, everyone is like touching the same doorknobs, touching the elevator buttons, touching things to go in and out. So that concerns me too, because if one person in your building has it, pretty much everyone else, if they touch something and everyone else touches the same thing, is probably going to get it. So I think that's how it spreads so much in cities like that, is just all these people packed in together. And so it's been really not being able to go out and go exploring. And I don't have obviously living in New York, I don't have a car to go driving around or go on long walks in the woods, or, I can go to the park, but there's always other people there. And it's kind of stressful because there's so many people always walking right by you, and people don't follow the social distancing rules. And so it can just be stressful in that way. So I've been staying home as much as possible and just glad that I'm still healthy.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. A few days ago, you said you hadn't left your apartment in 5 days.
5 days.
Not even to like get any fresh air, vitamin D, anything?
Yeah, not even, nothing. I stuck my head out the window once because I was like, I need some fresh air. And I'm like, is this what life is like outside? I'm like, wow, it's so nice out.
Yeah. And that's because why at that time? You didn't want to walk you're close to people. You come out of your apartment complex and there are people on the sidewalks very close walking by. Is that why you didn't go out? I don't know if you're.
I think Melanie froze.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
No connection.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, she's back.
So did you hear me? Because there were too many people right outside your front door of your apartment.
It was narrow sidewalks. So what I do live by the Hudson River. So it's nice to live by the water. But to get out towards the water, you have to walk down a narrow sidewalk. And on the sidewalk with so many other people are passing by. There's groups of guys who are just out smoking together. And I'm like, do you people know there's a pandemic right now? I don't know. Some people don't really seem to be faced by it, which is why for me, I feel like it's safe to stay in. And also what worries me is if I do have it and I just don't show symptoms yet, that I could potentially be passing it on to other people. Say if I like cough or something and like a little droplet. Not that I've really been coughing outside, but just for the safety of other people too.
True. All right. That's good. That's very good. Yeah. How about you, Millie? What have you been doing? What do you notice?
So, so in Christiansburg, it's a very rural area. So I think they had one confirmed case so far at Virginia Tech. But yeah, people, honestly, it's kind of like, it's almost like, it feels like not much has changed, honestly. Like, I went to Walmart to do some shopping, like for groceries and some other stuff. And there's still tons of people. It's honestly more crowded than it was before.
Yeah.
Like, they're not enforcing 10 people at a time. A lot of people do wear masks. And I saw a couple people with gloves, and they have like extra like hand sanitizer and like wipes for the carts, which I definitely used because I needed a cart. And I walked in and I was like, I really don't want to touch this cart. But then there were tons of wipes, so I got like 3 and just doused the whole thing with like these disinfecting.
That's good to have that.
Yeah, but I don't have a mask or gloves at all. So, and it's really weird because I'm so much more aware of like what I touch. Like, it's so weird. Like, as soon as everything started like happening, I definitely was more aware about doorknobs. Like, I always, at that time, it was a little cooler in the beginning of March. So I always like pulled my sleeve like over my hand to like, I didn't touch my hand to the thing. Like, I like opened doors through my sleeve. But now like I'm not wearing jackets, so that's a little harder, and I don't have gloves. But thankfully a lot of doors are like pushed, so I just like use my body. But I was so aware, like when I went to the post office, I was there and I was really not touching anything. But then what I was really aware of was like the credit card reader. Like I had to type in my PIN, and I just thought like, oh, and I did it. Like, I just automatically did it. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I just touched this. That's so bad. Like, so many people are touching this today. Like, oh, yeah. I got into my car and I have hand sanitizer in my car, and I was just like rubbing my hands with hand sanitizer. But then it goes even farther than that. And I'm very aware of like my phone. Like, I touched my phone before using that hand sanitizer. So I'm like, ew, how dirty is my phone? Like, like all these little things. I'm just so like aware of everything I've touched and like how it spreads like so fast.
Yeah.
So, I had a whole issue with like prescriptions yesterday for medication I needed, and I ended up having to go to urgent care to just get one of the doctors there to write me a new prescription. And it was like, honestly, it was kind of like a war zone. Like, it was so funny. So I walked up to the building of the Med Express urgent care place, and there were tons of signs on the door like, stop, do not enter. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just kind of stood there, and then this girl comes out, one of the nurses, or I don't know what the official title is. She comes out and she's in like a hospital like gown thing. She has gloves and a mask. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I was just standing there like, nothing. Like, I was just standing there like it was a normal day. And she asked me like, what do you need, blah, blah, blah. And then I go in, she's like, okay, you can come in, you can like see a doctor, and then they'll write you a prescription. And I was like, great, thank you. So I go in, and the waiting room, there were only 3 chairs, like in this huge room, and they were so spread out.
Them apart,
so
right?
I walked in, and I just thought, okay. And I just sat down in this chair, and it was so empty. It was so weird. Yeah, and everyone had gloves and masks and whatnot. So, yeah, it's just really weird. It's kind of like surreal. Like, I hate it because it makes it like causing like this whole social distancing thing. I just hate the distance between other humans. Like, I'm a very like physical touch. Like, I'm a hugger. Like, I like hugging people. I'm very extroverted. So I love people. But so it's just weird kind of seeing us all being forced to not like kind of interact. And when I go to the store, like when I was at Walmart that one time, like I go down an aisle and there was this guy, like his cart was on one side of the aisle and he was looking on something at the other side. So I had to like go all the way around. Like, I didn't just go through and say, excuse me, but I like went all the way around through another aisle because I was like, I can't be close to people.
Yeah.
So I really hate how that has affected things, like just feeling like I don't want to be around people. It just makes me sad because I value like human contact so much. And I know that it is like important for us to be like close with other people. So that's been weird, but
Do you feel you mistakenly like shook someone's hand or anything?
No, I not shaking hands, but I'm trying to think. No, I don't think so. There was like at the very beginning, like before when I was still working, we had like it was the first time everyone came back, and it was like the last mass actually, and I like touched this girl on the shoulder, and I was like, oh, I'm not sorry. That anymore. It was so funny. I was like, ah.
Yeah. Well, hi Hillary, hi Mary. Thanks for joining us.
I can actually see the comments from here, which is cool.
You can see the comments?
Yeah, it says live comments.
Show up on Facebook. We are about a minute or two ahead. So, but okay, so I think the comments will show up on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I can see them too.
What I find is I have 2 pairs of surgical gloves in the car, and to use them if I need to, but like you, Millie, putting in my credit card, and if I have to touch something, and I'm driving on the steering wheel, so I've been going to my car and wiping down the steering wheel and trying to definitely don't touch your face. Definitely if your hands are going to touch things, you know, they get into the point of entry through your nose, mouth, ears, maybe, I'm not sure. So you definitely don't want to touch your face or even fix your hair or anything like that. But
my face is like itchy. When people talk about not touching your face, it makes me want to touch my face more. I'm like, I just want to like scratch. Like I'm such a face touching type of person, so it's really hard for me. It's a habit. I'm always like scratching my nose or like touching my eye, or whatever. I
want to mention your website. Melanie has a very nice, not a website. I mean, well, you do, but melaniegriesmer.com. Yeah. But I like your. I wanted to mention your YouTube channel, Melanie. Yes, you have made good videos. You've been making weekly updates about what's going on in New York City and in your life, and you have a different perspective, and it was really good. The first one was good. The second one was really good. So Melanie 1190 on the YouTube channel, and I look forward to your next one coming. And
it's coming up. I just need to edit and then upload.
I find that people here in Florida where I am, there's different levels of precautions based on what people feel. For example, when I went into an Asian market, produce, you can imagine about 80 to 90% of people had gloves and masks on. And in Publix and in some of the other places, maybe 20 to 30%. And I saw a woman jogging today with a mask. And so hopefully her breathing, and she had a pretty good pace going. And I'm like, personally, I feel if there's enough distance, you're okay. And I've been riding my bike at like 5 or 6 in the morning, sometimes 7. So I avoid people, and I don't see. And in fact, I did some calculation. The last week in March, I only drove the car 20 miles in the entire week. And I rode my bike like 190 miles. That bike riding has replaced swimming and other activities. And
can you buy me a bike and send it to me? I want a bike.
You have a lot of hills where you are.
It'd be really hard. I also don't really have, like, the road I live on isn't very conducive to like bike riding.
It's dangerous. I
have to go really fast to like almost keep up with traffic because
it's dangerous. Where you are, there's not enough side of the road and cars winding around going fast. I wouldn't recommend it. But so I was going to say we could talk about boredom. There's a lot of people who talk about being bored, and they're watching Netflix and they're watching this and that. And I feel like if you have an imagination, you might not get bored. And what's funny is I left the house to go ride my bike, and I actually got bored riding my bike. So I kind of wanted to come back home. I
listen to a podcast while you ride, or put on some headphones.
Give me some examples of podcasts. All right, so I did listen to some, like Rich Roll was a good one about health and veganism and just physical health. That was good, but then I got tired of that. Music, I have good music, but maybe I need some new music. But when you're on your bike an hour and a half, when you only used to I used to ride 25 miles a week. And now I'm riding like 15 to 20 miles, not every day, but at a clip. So I'm totally, I don't know, like 7 times as much riding my bike that I used to. But, you know, if I could swim, I would bump the biking. But
that's crazy. That's excessive cardio. You're gonna get like way in shape.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess we could ask, like, how has your life changed? What are you, first of all, both Millie and Melanie, it's 45 minutes one way. You have to allow yourself to go to work, and now you're working from home. So you have more time right there. And Millie, unfortunately, lost your job. So how are you coping? What are you doing now with more time right now? You have more time. So what do you think you're doing with your time?
Yeah, it's been weird for me. Like, as you mentioned, like I got laid off a couple weeks ago because I was working for the church in ministry, but it was financial reasons. So they had to let me go, which is really sad. But I think I've definitely come to peace with it at this point. But I don't know what I've been doing. Like I did a couple puzzles, and I think honestly, I've just been spending a lot more time on social media, which I don't like. So that's kind of something I'm trying to work through now. Like, how can I kind of harness my time better? Yeah. Whether it's adding in more prayer time or reading. Like, I could just start reading novels, like just whatever, or just more spiritual reading, because that's honestly mostly what I have on my bookshelf. But it's, okay, here's the thing. I have been playing games on the computer, which is like kind of embarrassing to admit.
Which ones?
So I'm playing Portal 1 and 2. I beat Portal 1 in like a day. I mean, it's a pretty easy game. But now
I don't even know what that is.
I started playing Peggle again. And then one of my friends got me into this game called Age of Empires. It's so nerdy and so stupid. And yet here I am playing it. So whatever.
So funny.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm some kind of gamer girl now, but that's weird. What else have I been doing? I do have a weekly small group, which has been really good. So one of my friends, she leads a small group of like just young adult women. And we get on Zoom once a week for like an hour and a half, like maybe up to 2 hours. And we just talk, and we have like a book that we're going through. And it's like a Bible study. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
I've been cooking a lot more. I actually cooked dinner. Like tonight, right before this, I cooked steak and potatoes, like a baked potato. So that's really cool. I never did that. Like, I think honestly being forced to stay home has been kind of nice in a way, because I think I'm saving a lot of money on food. Like most of my meals were good.
Yeah.
And like the nature of my job, I was getting a lot of meals with students, which like that was all reimbursed, but I was also just eating out myself more too. Yeah. So, I've actually been saving a lot of money and like cooking more like actual meals, which has been pretty good.
What I was going to say is, I wonder if anybody knows the percentage increase that grocery stores are doing for profit. I'm going to guess 30% more. Just imagine people working in the workplace. They eat lunch out. That's at least 1 out of 3 of your meals. And people in a hurry after school, kids doing sports, parents coming home. Maybe they grab something for dinner. So I would guess 30% increase in traffic at grocery stores. Would you think that's maybe
would it be more? Maybe
more than that?
More, because think about like all the restaurants. Well, people can still do takeout, so
yeah, you can do takeout now.
But they don't though. I think restaurants are getting way
in New York.
Yeah, I guess New York, but here, like the second week, like. Yeah, I think like week 2 into the whole like pandemic thing, before Virginia was on a stay-at-home order. Yeah. My friend came over and he brought like Outback Steakhouse. I talk about steak all the time. Like my favorite food probably. But anyway, he went at like 6 p.m. And the girl there working was like, "Oh, you're our first customer of the day," or like, "You're my first customer," since she had been working there. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So people really aren't. So I think the restaurants, I would say more. I feel like they have to be getting like 50% more of their business, like the grocery stores, because it's always packed. Like here, and there's not, like, I live in a pretty, like, it's a small town. And especially with the students gone, like all the students from tech,
Oh, yeah.
Like Virginia Tech doubles the size of Blacksburg.
Definitely.
So like,
oh, you're right. That's crazy.
So,
because
and
all the
most of the students,
home.
like,
I didn't think about that.
and like I would say at least half the students are gone. Like they had to leave campus. So, but like when I drive by the grocery store, like Walmart or Kroger, it's always packed. So I'm sure they're getting a lot more business than what they previously had.
And you know what else is packed? Home Depot and Lowe's. In the limited driving that I'm doing, yes, people are doing projects at home.
Like going to buy
Home Depot and Lowe's. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So my friend Mary says she thinks the stores are getting more business, way more. The shelves are empty, but they restock almost every night. Yes, when I was in Walmart or when I was in Publix, I noticed the shelves are emptying out. And so thanks to all the grocery store workers and the truck drivers and the medical people, the nurses and doctors having to go in and deal with patients who may or may not have it, they're putting themselves at risk and they go home to their families. So there's a lot of people out there working to keep things going, in this crisis. And so I know we were going to get to Melanie. I forgot what the question was, your day-to-day life and...
Oh, how do you fill your boredom? What do you do with your time?
Oh, boredom. So I was thinking, I'm actually grateful that I'm the personality type to easily entertain myself. And I feel like since a really young age, I've been like that. Do you remember, we have a home video of when I was younger, I would open up the dictionary, like make up stories and pretend I was reading a book, like Once Upon a Time. And blah, 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 princess and like this and that. And so I just find ways to entertain myself. I can literally be sitting alone in a room and just, let me just do something creative or do a project. Or I have like tons of books. I have art projects. I have writing and journaling and making videos and editing videos and all that. Those things can just, so I don't really get bored. But the psychological hard thing for me is being forced to stay home. Like I would enjoy it if I could choose, like, oh, I'll just stay home and do a project today, or I'll just go out for a walk, or I'll go to a bookstore, or I'll go to a museum, or I'll go to a jazz club, or I'll just go to a bar. And maybe I'm a very like solitude type of person. So unlike Millie, like I'm an introvert, so I gain my energy from my alone time and being alone. But I like to explore and go out and do things still by myself, but I like the option and the freedom of being able to go out. So that's really hard for me to be forced to stay in.
Yeah.
I mean, not that New York City isn't under mandatory lockdown like how it is in Spain, where you can't, like my friend Adina and Javi who live in Spain cannot leave if they go out. And in Italy, it was this thing where police are outside and you have to have documentation if you're going somewhere. Oh, I'm going to the store. Then you have to like go straight to the store nearest to you, get what you need, come straight back home. And there's people kind of watching to make sure people aren't wandering around and doing things. In New York, you can still wander and gallivant around.
Yeah.
And people do, but it's not advised to. But it's still hard for me, really hard to be kind of forced mentally of like, okay, I have to be home. I like working from home, being home all day. Then I go out and I go for a walk. I go to the grocery store. But it's not enough for me to fulfill my need to go out and about.
Yeah.
That's been hard, but I don't really say that I get bored. And for some reason, the time has been going so fast for me. I don't know if it's like this for anyone else, but the days have been flying by. I've been hearing mixed things. Some people are like, the days just drag on. And that's what I was worried of before working from home. I was afraid working from home, being home all day. Because I used to actually work from home. My job before this, I would work from home and I would always go to coffee shops, go somewhere else to work, and then come back home. I can't just be home all day. But for some reason, I don't know why, the time has been going so fast for me and I haven't really been finding myself sitting around bored that often. So it's been good.
Keeping busy.
It's hard mentally.
Yeah, I find I've adjusted okay. I'm procrastinating. Before this virus came, I had a goal to write several ebooks, and I have by May, I want this one done, by December. And I totally set that aside. And like Millie, because I'm an extrovert and I have a need for people, I miss seeing my acquaintances, swim friends or church friends or whatever. And I really miss that. Even though I'm not really highly involved in many activities, I just miss going out and about. So I've decided to do Facebook Live chats on birth, and I'm really loving it. I have so many ideas, so many people I'll be talking to, so many topics, and there's so many more to do. There's even topics I could do on marriage. Can you imagine how people are adjusting? Imagine a man and a woman, both with full-time jobs, 2 kids in school. Now suddenly all 4 of them are at home in the house 24/7. Although some people think 40 weeks or 9 months from now, there's going to be a baby boom. There can also be, we could be at risk for domestic violence, for more alcohol and drug abuse, and for very difficult times. So it's not all rosy and happy for everybody. It's actually an adjustment for everybody, whether good or bad. So I'm really hoping that we have an infrastructure of a lot of counselors and hotlines. And I'm sorry to say, a woman I met in Connecticut 6 or 7 years ago, she lives in Rhode Island. She committed suicide a few days ago, an acquaintance friend of mine, and she was about 55 to 60. And I know she had some problems, but that bothers me that there's possible depression going on, and there's possible.
A lot. Not possible, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I think.
And the job loss, 13% of our nation are unemployed, 2 in our family, Millicent and Christina.
Yeah.
And with other people I know, losing jobs. And it's not an easy time to find jobs. So we just have to, have optimism. And I'm hoping that we'll come out of this with maybe a new economy. Can you imagine if we had more manufacturing in this country? Maybe the big guys are gonna realize maybe we shouldn't export so much from China, and maybe we should become a stronger nation. Our president talks about make America great again. Well, I'd like him to put his money where his mouth is and really make it great by somehow helping to create good, solid jobs. And because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to need to get their jobs back. And hopefully many things will reopen, the restaurants, and people can go back to work. And so.
Yeah, I had a thought. I mean, over the past couple of weeks, pretty much ever since it started, I was thinking, I wonder how this is going to affect, some societal norms. Are people going to slowly get away from shaking hands altogether? What is, our door is going to be automatic? These little things that we never thought about is being so affected. And I wonder how that will affect just our society moving forward. And I brought this up to someone, and he said, well, I mean, shaking hands is a very generational thing. It's not going to go away immediately, but maybe that just won't be a good form of greeting in a couple years, maybe more than a couple years. But these little things that have been so ingrained in society, I feel like this whole pandemic situation is just completely overturning that and really making us think about things.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say
also, wiping down my phone. I have actually always been conscious of all the germs that are on our phones. Because think about it. Every time, you can't really see. I'm holding my phone. We touch our phones so much. And of course, in New York, I ride the subway. So I touch the poles, the hand poles. And then I touch my phone. And then I touch things. And then I touch my phone. And I'm always touching my phone. And my hands are also always touching everything too. And thinking of all the germs that our phone collects. So what I actually do is at work, there's a hand sanitizer thing. It's there all the time. And so I periodically do this. I get a paper towel. I dump some hand sanitizer on and then go this to my phone. And one time my coworker was like, "What are you doing?" I was sanitizing my phone. And he was like, "What?" And I'm because it gets dirty and I need to it looked weird. But now it's funny because now we're in a place where that's normal. Sanitize everything, wipe everything down. So we should be thinking about, I think even going forward after this, hopefully more people will think wow, I touch my phone a lot. Wow, my hands, I should wash my hands more often. So that's a good thing to make people actually think about all the germs that we touch on a daily basis.
My roommate, every time she comes in, she Lysols everything. She Lysols her phone. When she goes shopping, everything she gets from the store, she just Lysols everything. And it was really funny because, she's so sweet. I wonder if she'll watch this. Maybe not. She's not really on Facebook. But and when I got laid off, she got me like this really cute like little gift package. Like she got me like some face masks, a blanket, a thing of Diet Coke because I'm obsessed with Diet Coke. And I pulled something out and I was like, why is this wet? And she was like, oh, because I Lysoled it all. It was so funny. And then when I opened up the blanket, it smelled like Lysol. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Sprayed down.
I know. Hillary's cute. Hillary says, oh, wait. Yeah. She goes, when she comes home from the grocery store, I think she strips off her clothes and washes them. Just by being out with too many people, you know, she just kind of does extra wash. But yeah, she does her phone too. Oh yeah, Penny asks, what about the 5G theory? Well, guess what?
So, can someone explain that to me? I got a tweet. My friend sent me a Twitter, and she's like, interesting. Just read this and let me know what you think. I didn't read the article yet, but then I saw on Twitter another thing. Oh, the 5G is fake. Don't fall for it. What does that exactly mean? What is 5G?
Right. Well, I don't really want to get into it now, but tomorrow at 3:00, I'm doing a Facebook Live with Janice Barcelo, a woman who has done extensive research on prenatal ultrasound and wireless radiation. She's going to talk about the virus and what is a virus, and she's going to talk about 5G. So I'll withhold any comment.
Okay, so tomorrow. So tomorrow
at 3:00. We're doing tomorrow here at 3:00 for a Facebook Live, and we'll talk all about that. But let's talk about some of the different things that you've discovered in your home or that you've done. And today, the oven was dirty last night, and so Christina's boyfriend said, "Well, why don't you just turn on the oven, the self-cleaning?" The self-cleaning generates heat and smell, and you have to, there's an easier way I found about 2 years ago. Someone shared on Facebook. If you take baking soda and you make sure your oven, I think, is cool, and throw baking soda all over it and take warm water and spray it, or throw a little warm water and just shut it. And the next day, clean it. So today, right, like 20 minutes before this, I said, oh, I have to clean this oven. So I was scrubbing it, and it comes up easily. And I was cracking up because I was reaching in way into the back of it. And I started laughing because, do you remember that movie, The Visit? The Visit. It was a M. Night Shyamalan. These two kids go to who they think is their grandparents' house.
Yes. Oh, that movie was so creepy. Was that an M. Night Shyamalan movie? I don't think it was.
It was creepy, but it was funny. It was hysterical.
Yeah, I remember.
The grandparent was telling the granddaughter, go in the oven and clean it. And she was going in so far. It's almost like Hansel and Gretel, where she was going to push her in. And I just laughed. I was getting
that movie is so creepy.
It was creepy, but it was funny. It was actually it had so many funny parts. But anyway, so I've been doing a little more cleaning around the house. There's always more that I could do. And I think people are discovering things, discovering different games. It definitely looks like, Melanie, we cracked up when we saw you on our family Zoom. Your room was immaculate, cleaner than I've ever seen it. So
yeah,
you
cleaning
to clean.
You know what's funny? So I discovered so I have two roommates. For those of you who don't know, I have two roommates, and so it's 3 people in the apartment. And so we all share a fridge. And so we all each have our own food, kind of, in the freezer, in the fridge. Various like meats, chicken, sometimes frozen. So one day, Bridget, my roommate, was going through the freezer, or we were like, whose chicken is this? Or whose steak is this? Let's see, is this yours? Is this yours? Oh no, I thought it was yours. I thought it was yours. What? Oh no, it's not mine. It's not mine. We looked at the date. It expired in 2014.
Ew.
This was in a freezer. This must have been one of the persons who lived here, and then they moved out, like in the beginning. Like one of the girls who live here, and they moved out. Like when we first moved. Did
it make you want to just take everything out in its entirety and go through it and then put it back in organize it?
Yeah, so that's kind of what we've been doing. We've been like organizing, going through, seeing like whose is what, and like throwing things out. There's even stuff that was like, there was actually something that was mine that I totally forgot about from a long time ago. Some pumpkin seeds or something. So that's been good to go through old clutter and stuff like that to make sure that all of our stuff is clean. And I like deep clean the apartment, and cleaned my room. And another thing I discovered that's funny, do I have it here? Oh, so I went to Barnes & Noble. Sometimes things just click and you're like, oh, that's an interesting coincidence. I bought these books randomly. I was like, oh, that seems like a good book. One of them is called Essentialism. Oh, it's funny, I have it here.
Oh.
Kind of about looking at your life and thinking. Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Oh.
This is recommended by this business person that I watch, Hillary Rushford, and it's all about like simplifying your life, what's most important, why do we have all these things going on, why are we focusing on so much, and like what's really important in life, that kind of thing. And then I have this other book about creativity. It's like how to be creative in good times and in bad. And so I bought these two books randomly. This is before all this started happening. So I discovered, wow, that's actually a perfect coincidence that I bought these books that are actually really good for right now, because it's so relevant to what we're going through, that books kind of help your life, even though I didn't voluntarily choose this all to happen. But how can we get through this time and kind of learn lessons?
That's neat. I want those book titles. You have to write them down for me later. I don't want to write them down right now. I'll check it out later, but
yeah, I've been cleaning my room a lot. Like I found that with all this like extra time I have been really going through like organizing. I went through like the first day, I went through my entire dresser, like all my drawers, and I got rid of so many clothes. Or, I mean, I couldn't go donate it anywhere because everything's closed, but I just had like I have a big bin of stuff I'm getting rid of. And I had like these bins of stuffed animals from like my childhood.
Yeah.
I'm only getting rid of 2 out of like the 30, but that's a good step.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm so like nostalgic, and I just put so much like sentimental value into everything. I hate getting rid of things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just like am going through things. I had like these stacks and stacks of just folders and papers and random stuff. And I'm like, I'm never going to look at this. I'm never going to read it. This is so pointless. I just need to throw it away. Yeah. So I actually went through a lot of stuff, and I have like a huge pile on my floor right now of just trash that I need to get rid of.
Good. Oh gosh. Well, you know me, I'm not nostalgic very much at all. And I did a major purge when we moved from Virginia to Florida 5 years ago. I had so much fun giving away things, selling things, and throwing things in the trash. And there's one thing that maybe I regret that I threw away. And that was the only time I competed with swimming was between age 12 and 14. And I won trophies and ribbons. And at the time, I didn't have a cell phone in December 2014. But someone said, before you get rid of things that might mean something to you, you take pictures of it. So anyways, I threw those away because they were sitting in a bottom drawer, never seen, never used, never appreciated. I didn't care. It was just a, junk drawer. But I wish I saved those because my identity is a little tied up in swimming. I love swimming. So I kind of wish I saved that. But another thing I threw away was my wedding dress. A lot of women will get married.
Really? Honestly, if it's yellowing and it's old, what are you gonna do with it? Like it is
sentimental. Number one, I don't sew, so I'm not going to cut it up and recreate it and reuse it. So it's not going to fit. Although I was like 122 pounds when I got married, and when I was down to 124 at one point in my life about 12 years ago. I tried it on and it didn't fit right because after having 6 kids, although it was only a 2-pound difference, my back and my hips were bigger. So the proportions of my body had changed. And I thought, I'm short. Nobody's going to want to wear this. It's yellowed from grass stains or whatever on the bottom of it. And I'm not going to donate it. Nobody's going to want to wear it. So I threw that away. And another thing I threw away, I don't know if you remember this, some college yearbooks, high school yearbooks. I picked up my high school yearbook, college. I looked at
I'm so angry. I'm angry on your behalf.
Like, signed it personally.
Signed it. I know. I read what they wrote.
Oh my gosh, how? I don't understand how you can just throw something like that away. Oh.
Because who I am today is not really anything to do with back then. I'm very different. My life has moved in many different directions. So I picked up my high school yearbook and I looked at it and I enjoyed it. I cringed a little bit. I'm like, and then I did read what people wrote. So 20 solid quiet minutes And I held it and I looked at it and I said, I'm just ready to part with this. I'll toss. And then I tossed some other things. And then later when Dad got home from work, I said, oh, like I felt so liberated. Today I threw away a college yearbooks and some high school yearbooks because I got some from the other years. And I felt great. It's good. I go, I highly recommend you throw away yours too. And he goes, I'm not throwing away my high school yearbooks. I enjoyed high school. I was in the band. I did this and that. And I'm like, you're right. I don't have the right to tell you to toss. So
yeah, Dad is so cute. He was probably like the top #1 band geek, like nerd leader.
Yeah, I have so many good memories from high school. Like I loved high school. It was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that is interesting. Like if you have an absolutely horrible high school experience, then it's like you probably don't want to keep that. And I don't
say it was horrible. I would say it was not pleasant. I was quiet. I didn't have confidence in myself. And I just felt like, let me out of here. I'm going to move out of Connecticut. I just didn't want to be there. And so it wasn't horrible. It was, I was an awkward kid. But I've gone to the reunions and I've kept in touch with some high school classmates. So it's positive now, but I did not have an attachment to high school. If you asked me, would you want to redo your high school years? I'd say absolutely not. I'd never go back. Even if you paid me $1 million to just do 1 year, 4 years, I don't know.
No, that's BS. You would do it. If I offered $1 million right now, you would totally do that.
I don't know. So anyway, getting rid of things. But okay, so there's going to come a point in time where we've cleaned our house, where we've, done what we could. And so now what? And I was thinking, well, how can I serve others? How can I serve people? So I feel Facebook Live of my birth talks are serving. And while I'm riding my bike, I'm not just going to go and do exercise. I'm going to look for opportunities, whether it's making friends. When we're supposed to keep social distance, I decided maybe I'll make some friends. And I noticed I rode my bike through I saw a few homeless people. So I'm considering putting together little small bags of a few essentials. So if I see homeless people while I'm riding my bike, a bottle of water and some granola bars and maybe $5 or $10. So when I go like to a downtown area this week, I'm going to just put 3 packages and be ready to help somebody else rather than I'm at home and I'm watching TV and I'm getting on my bike and I'm just, exercising for vanity, of what purpose? So I think this pandemic can give us time to think, well, what is my purpose in life? What am I doing? And, like I said, some people will have to find jobs, but, what is the purpose of this? And how can I be spending my time productively and effectively? Like I tell Melanie, be a producer, or my kids, be a producer, not a consumer.
I know. It kills me how so many people are using this time to just binge stupid shows and movies and play games and scroll endlessly through social media. I'm like, we're given all this time on our hands. What are we doing with it? Because I'm guilty. I'm not looking down on other people because I've been just wasting so much time as well. And then I think, okay, how can I actually use this time? And it's also, it's kind of a hard balance because we shouldn't be so forcing everyone be productive, learn new skills, make businesses. Because I've been seeing a lot of that too. And that's toxic because then it's if I'm not accomplishing all these things,
true.
A lesson that I've learned is our identity isn't so wrapped up in our accomplishments and what we do and our jobs and how much money we make. But if everything else is stripped away and we're just alone and it's just ourselves, who are we and what is our purpose? And it's not tied to producing and the consumerism since capitalism society, but you can just be yourself and be creative and do something that's just fun. Because we live in a society where everything has to be a business and a side hustle and you got to make money off these things, got to improve your skills. No, what do you actually like to do? Read a book, do something creative, paint a picture, draw something without trying to make money off of it or making a business or feeling like you have to do something or achieve something in life.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
I just thought of a challenge. So Hillary, she's been doing walking. One day she walked 8 miles, one day 10 miles with her two roommates, another day 8 miles. And I said, I'm going to walk 10 miles this week. And tomorrow is my day. I'm going to walk 10 miles. And I think I'm going to challenge myself, maybe, because that will take almost 3 hours, 2.5, I think, to 2:45. So I'm going to challenge myself to be in the moment with no music, no podcast, and maybe for 1 hour or however long I can take to walk quietly and to just kind of be quiet. And but anyways, but I'm going to walk. I think I'm going to walk 10 miles tomorrow. And it is kind of killing me. I'm doing a lot of this by myself, and that's a challenge. And so I'm trying to embrace and accept the challenge that we've been given with this for spending more time at home. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, by myself. I'm losing my voice a little bit because I have been getting on the phone, calling friends, people keeping up with some people. For this Lent, I decided to make it quieter. But once this pandemic came, I decided, all right, I'm going to talk with people. So if you can't see them,
Yeah, it's so important to like check in on people, because I mean, especially like for me, it's funny because I saw this meme like sort of at the beginning, and it was like, check on your extrovert friends. They're not doing okay.
Yes.
But it's kind of serious though. Like it's very serious. Like me, after 2 days of like not going outside, like I'm dying. Like I'm actively struggling. Like it's so hard as an extrovert, like to not see people. And it's like, I have my two roommates and we're friends and we talk and hang out, but it's like, like it's still hard to just like, oof. Yeah. But so, and you mentioned like mental health earlier a little bit. And I just think that's so important. Like, and I think now like we have more time to be more intentional about reaching out to people. Yeah. Like just choose like, even our bishop of our diocese, like right after he announced, like the weekend after all public masses were canceled, like he was like, hey, like I know that we aren't able to meet like as a community, physically meet like to worship, but check in on your friends, like check in on 10 people. He was like, everyone just check in on 10 people this week and just talk to them, see how they're doing. And I was like, oh, Bishop Nessat, that's so nice. But it's serious. Yeah. Like, you should be checking in, texting, FaceTiming, calling, like just check in on people, because it's so important. Because I think like, even though it's important for like the health, like for public health to isolate yourself, like we still don't have to be completely isolated where we're not talking to anyone. Correct. Like that's the beauty of social media, of having cell phones. Like we can still reach out to each other and still keep that connection alive.
Yeah. And especially since we can't touch or hug, I'm a hugger too. Think of the widowed people or the single people at home, or, just people who didn't used to get out much anyway. You can check in on your neighbor or bring them a meal or, something. Yeah. You can always do something for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Because some of us, we really don't have it that bad. The people who have it bad are the people who actually are getting this virus with pneumonia, hospitalized, who are actually, almost on their deathbed. And anyway, so there are a lot of people struggling, and family members, and all these people like in convalescent homes are on lockdown. People can't even go and visit old people. You can't even visit a loved one, and then someone dying. And so anyway, so some of us, many of us don't really have it that bad when we think about it. And we're just, trying to do our part and trying to wait this out. And,
I think everyone experiences grief and loss in a different extent. So like some people are like really grieving the loss of family members. Some people are grieving the loss of just simple things like social connections. Some people are grieving, like we all have a loss that we're dealing with in different levels. Yeah. And I feel like we shouldn't compare and be like, oh, well, like it's worse. It's better for us. It's worse for us. Like, yeah, but at the same time, we should all be allowed to feel sad over the.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just about acknowledging where you're at. Like, what am I feeling right now? How am I doing? Like, and just being brutally honest with yourself and just saying like, it's okay to feel those things. It's okay to be like this.
Yeah.
And if you need I've been starting to just tell people, because I think I've been just going through weird, like losing my job. Like I was just going through a lot with that, and just like trying to like figure out what the heck, because I think I put a lot of my purpose into my job, and now that was stripped away, I think just over the past like 2 weeks, I've been struggling a lot with like, what am I doing? What's the point of all this? Like, where's my, it hasn't been really bad. I'm fine. But like, just a little bit like, oh my gosh, like, I don't really know, like, what am I supposed to be doing with my time? So like, I've started telling people like, hey, I need like, text me, like, just like sometimes I have to tell people like, I need an accountability partner, like just tell me to do this thing. Like, because even though you have to do it, or like you should be doing something else, like sometimes you need, and like that's something that I kind of acknowledged about myself, and I realized that I needed. So I think it's important for all of us to kind of just take a step back and just kind of acknowledge like, where am I? What do I need? What am I feeling? Like, what's happening right now? Because I think we tend to just kind of like go, like our society, our culture like just pushes this like fast paced, like instant gratification. Like it's just like go. So now all of a sudden that's stripped away. So what the heck do we do now? So I think I fear that a lot of people are going to enter into this space of like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's happening?
I think in a way that's a good thing. I was thinking about this. I was like, I hope a lot of people find God during this time if they didn't believe or like were questioning, because now is the time to really, because I feel like that's when I had my like conversion experience, like reversion, is when you are done, like when I finished college, when I actually had time to really reflect on the deep questions of life. Because all of your life, you're in school, you're working, you're doing things, you're kind of distracted by all the things of the world, and you're like, okay, I have to like get this career, I have to go after this, I have to do this, graduate, get grades, blah, 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 blah. You're so focused on all those goals. And then when that's over, when things are stripped away and like life kind of calms down a little bit, that's when you have the chance to really reflect and do some introspective work of, who am I? What is my purpose? Is there a God? Is there a religion? If so, which one is like the right religion? And what do I believe? And what should I do? And like, let me like research like history and religion and philosophy and read books and think. And I'm like, so I hope a lot of people take this time to do that journey.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good
I think they will, Melanie, because when this illness could kind of strike anybody, it could kind of strike you hard. So when you're faced with your death is when you really start asking those questions. And we all, to an extent, thrown into our faces. And actually, this was shocking and a surprise. Although some people will say this was happening in December and January in other parts of the world. To me, it kind of came as a surprise when we were told, okay, boom. And Millie, even though you know your job was coming to an end at the end of May, you were given a 4-hour notice. Okay, today's your last day, clear up and go. Many people are given a 2-week notice. Christina was given a 2-week notice, and she kind of knew maybe it was coming, but you were just like, okay, this is your last day, 4 hours, that's it. And that's like, it's a shock to the system. So we're kind of faced with death. And then a lot of people are faced with, I'm unemployed now. Where's the opportunity? I'm going to have to find a job. And what about people in their 50s losing their job, 40s, 50s, 60s? There's age discrimination out there. A lot of these jobs get replaced by 25 to 30-year-olds. And so it can be. So I think that people are going to reflect on God, their purpose, their afterlife, what if death hits me? And one of my cycling friends in the neighborhood, if anything, he recommends now is a good time for people to get their financial paperwork in order, your will, your finances, in case of an emergency or death of a family member. Does the other person know what your financial situation is? And so that's, in a will. So those are some good things. So I know we're guilty. There's some things that we need to brush up on, but it is a memory, a reminder. So anyways, you think we talked long enough? Thank everybody for listening. We can I don't know. Sometimes when I watch, I can't watch a podcast for like over an hour and a half, or listen.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you've made enough points. It's time to say goodbye. Leave on a high note.
And then we can do a part 2. Yeah.
If you want to, sure, whatever.
No, we said
it's like, if it's over an hour, just do it in 2 parts. Do a part 2. Don't
So we're coming up on 55 minutes. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, guys. This was a good idea. I'm glad we had this time to talk. And we have another thing that we started doing is our family. If you're on any of our Facebooks, you'll see the cutesy little Brady Bunch thing. We do a weekly Zoom. We will get together like for once a week for Zoom. And last week was Dad's birthday on our family night, and we invited some siblings. So it didn't give us the time to talk. So we squeezed another one in on like a Saturday or a Sunday. So once a week we do a Zoom conference. It's very easy to figure out Zoom. It's very easy to figure out what I'm doing here, StreamYard. So it's kind of fun. So I would recommend that, connecting with people through, like Millie said, FaceTime, texting, phone calls, the old fashioned phone calls. Isn't a phone call nice? Yeah. All right. Anything? All right.
Thank you for hosting.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. No, we're having end. My mouse.
Boomer!
My mouse. It's not working.
It's still live. What are you doing?